This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. No more waiting, no more fear. The truth is loud, the choice is clear. A nation proud, a people free. Scotland's fate is up to we. From the mountains to the shore, we dream of something more. A land of promise, hope and fire. A future that will lift us higher. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. For every voice that's yet to speak, for every heart that still feels weak, we march, we sing, we'll break the chain, we'll never bow, we'll rise again. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand.
Good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you are well. It is Friday, the 4th of April, 2025. Welcome to Saorsa Live. Tonight we're only streaming on YouTube once again because TikTok have not given me back my rights. But the good news is Streamlabs, which is the software company that I use to stream out, has sent me an email saying, "Are you been banned from TikTok?" And I'm like, yeah, obviously. So, yeah. It's in their hands now. We don't know why. I've had no messages of saying like violated this or violations for that. That sounded a bit awful there actually, but you know what I mean, those terms and conditions violations. But hopefully it'll be fixed. I was going to try and go on to Facebook Live tonight, okay, but I decided to do something a little bit more different. I just wanted to do something else, and I can also feel Barry looking at me through the chat going, "Oh no, you've messed with your settings again, Mo, haven't you?" Shocking. Right, so before we begin, we always have to play this little jingle, so let's just play it just now and then we'll get started and we'll talk about what we're going to do. Start our lives with an important reminder that we are fighting one of the world's greatest propaganda machines, the British state and their right-wing oligarch-run media. To combat this, we ask that you always follow, like and share, and comment positively across all social media platforms on any of your favourite Scottish independence creators and commentators. By doing this, you help to spread the word of our cause and manipulate social media algorithms to benefit our struggle. So please, for now, like and share this live stream, and if you haven't already, follow this account. Thank you. So, this week's videos that I put out there was pretty much having a go at our brothers and sisters in the independence movement that kind of mock the people that don't want to do SNP 1 and 2. So I'm not going to apologise for how I feel about that, because for me, it's not about the politics, it's about the people, it's about the future of our country, our nation, where basically right now we're in a pretendy situation. You know what, the SNP have done a remarkable job at governing Scotland for Scots under the ceiling, the glass ceiling of devolution. There's no two bones about that, and we should be proud of that. Okay, do you know as well, people don't like the SNP, I get that, and they don't represent the entire independence movement anymore. You have ISP, the New Scotland Party, ALPA, the Greens. You've got people that just don't want to get involved with politics, that will just vote yes, and they may just end up voting for the SNP. So when we have zealots turning around and going, it's our way or the highway, it doesn't really give us a sense of unity as a whole. And it's a bit disappointing. But I thought what would be fun tonight is to bring some other people into the live. Okay, so I've done that. So I'm hoping just now that the people in the back room waiting have got their clothes back on, all right, and put their lipstick on and made themselves look better, because I'm going to bring you onto camera just now. Let's just do this just now. Look who we have here. Oh, just as I put the camera on, Kieran is drinking some Carlsberg Special Brew. That is shocking. Okay. This is my little panel for tonight, okay, which is really good. This is me trying something different. This is why I was concerned about my settings, Barry. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run around the room and introduce everyone. So we're going to start with our Lisa at the top there. Lisa, how are you tonight?
Hi.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, what independence means to you, and why you think of yourself as an indie activist, please?
So in 2014, I voted yes, and 11 years on now, I'm still in that frame of mind that I want Scotland to be an independent country.
That's good. It's something that, you know, at the end of the day, I feel strongly about as well, and we should all get behind that. Okay, who else have we got here? We've got Lewis with the most incredible hair in the whole wide world. Lewis, tell us a bit about yourself.
So, yeah, I'm Lewis. I'm a Scots law student. The reason I want independence is so Scotland can have supreme legislative authority over itself. It sort of politicised me in a way, because we don't have power over our own laws. Our own laws get dictated to us from Westminster.
So how long have you been a law student for?
Probably 2 years now.
And do you enjoy it?
It's very long and arduous.
That was a very lawyery type answer to the question there, so you must be learning something if I don't say so myself, which is good. Now, Kieran, who's the next young gentleman there on the panel there just now, we've known each other for about, 3-4 years now, maybe? 3 years?
Yeah, yes.
You're one of Saorsa's originals, going back to when we sort of moved from calling it the Saltire to Saorsa. And you've been on Discord since day one with it pretty much, and I enjoy your company. You're a good person. You're also, like me, a card-carrying member of the SNP. Look, I even have a pen on my desk, which is for SNP, you know. But please tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Well, I am a member of the SNP. I have been for 2 years. I have been a member of Saorsa since it began, and I've been to independence rallies mainly because I do believe Scotland has the financial abilities to stand on its own 2 feet, because we have the resources and the ambition to build a better future, a more fairer and more prosperous future for Scotland. And I won't stop fighting until we do have that for every single person in Scotland.
That's good. You're our future, Kieran, you really are, because if you think about this just now, right, you're one of the younger generation that's politicised, like both Lewis and Lisa. Yeah, I'm bracketing. You might not feel young, okay, the two of yous at the top there. All right, but you are. I'm compared to Dave and myself. Dave's a bit younger than me because I'm like apparently like 1,000 years old according to Barry, and then some will probably say in a minute. But no, it's you are the future. The three of yous in here are the future of it all. Dave, though, Dave, how are you, Dave?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm amazing. Listen, you've been around as one of the original Saursas as well for a long time too. We've known each other a good while. We've met up on many occasions when you've been through in Edinburgh at pretty much every rally or march that we can get to. And I consider you yourself to be a good friend as well. So introduce yourself to everybody here, and then yeah.
Well, I've been a member of the SNP now since 2016. I did vote yes in 2014, although, as Mo knows, I did have my doubts at the time about Scottish independence. But then surely was convinced that yes, it was the way to go forward. Because I've always believed in a country's right to decide its own future rather than being dictated to by other people.
Dave, your camera's just stalled there for a second, and we might need to get your camera back on again in a sec. But
I don't know what.
Coming in and out, I'll just put myself onto the main screen just now. Listen, guys, thank you very much for introducing yourselves. I really appreciate that. It's good to have you all in with us tonight. It's something different for this live. It's an experiment. So, audience, this is purely an experiment for going forward into the future to bring more people in to discuss Scottish independence and everything around it as a whole. But we also have to have little things on the fly as well to try and make sure that, let me just bring up, where's Dave's cam? There we go, right there. Just make sure he's there. No, you're definitely on. You might need to come in and out, Dave. All right.
I'll go out and come back in again.
No sweat, brother. No sweat. So tonight we're basically briefly talking. We're not going to have a massively long live tonight because I'm working at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Madness. And I probably will be for the foreseeable future. It feels like a foreseeable future though. But that means that I might end up putting the live on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock instead, because I'm aiming to have the Sundays off permanently for the next sort of like 6 weeks or so. There we go, that's Dave come back. Brilliant. Cool. Let's just make sure he's there. Dave, give us a wave. Yes, that's okay, but you're moving again. That's good. You're not. You were actually. It looked like you were sitting there catching flies with your mouth open slightly when the camera froze. So it's all good. Okay, listen. We have all experienced negativity when it comes to social media and trolls, unionist trolls, and all sorts. How do you guys feel when your own people berate you and belittle you? I mean, I'll start off by saying I find it a waste of time. I really find it embarrassing that many people are too politicised to see the national cause as a whole. Does anybody want to jump in and say anything about that just now? How do you feel about the national cause over politics? Lisa?
I just think as well, because we've got two pro-indie parties there, it's divide and conquer at the end of the day. We need to work together. It doesn't matter what party gets us independence. Once we're independent, we can vote for whoever we like. So at the moment, it doesn't really matter what party delivers independence for our country.
I agree completely, 100%. How do you feel about that, Kieran?
I completely agree. There is people in all parties that I would say have the same views as other independence parties, but it's not clicking that they can then, in an independent country, vote for a party that properly has those views.
Why do you think it's not clicking? Is there a reason that you think that maybe, is there one particular reason, or is it? I'll tell you what I think in a minute, but what do you think?
I think there's a few reasons. There is definitely the fear, the big project fear, leading up to 2014, and there's also the big great part about Great Britain, the generational thing that has been passed down through families of Labour members, Conservative members, to be proud to be British,
Yeah,
and to
that's true.
and I think I would suppose say they're more of internationalists and would think that a smaller country like Scotland, independent, wouldn't do as well, unlike in the Union, which obviously isn't true, but we need to do the best we can to stop people thinking that.
It's a tough gig though. It's a tough gig, especially when we're fighting amongst ourselves. You know, when going back to what Lisa was saying, it doesn't really matter just now with regards to what parties are in power. I agree that the SNP should be the lead party, the party of government. They're the biggest party just now, and they've done a great job. I mean, we could talk about all the things which are really positive, and some people get frustrated and start talking about, well, that's just so in the past, baby boxes, and that's so like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and like the tuition fees. Well, do you know what would happen if these things were taken away? These people would be the first to complain about them. Why have we not got this anymore? Why have we not got that anymore? I think people have a tendency to forget what the Scottish government has done positively for Scots. They're governing for Scotland without any form of direction from Westminster. It's about Scotland, and they've proven that, and they've proven it strongly. And I feel, my personal feelings are, we should take the next step now and flood Holyrood with as many pro-Scottish MSPs as possible. What do you think about that? Who am I going to choose? Dun 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 dun. Lewis.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to win. We should use the tactical voting. The unions have been using it all along. I think the main problem with the independence movement is they've been not using the tactical voting, so they've been bickering, fighting, and that doesn't particularly look good to the public.
No, you're right. It's the infighting within the independence movement as a whole kind of gives a sort of I think a spoiled brat sort of kind of thing. I would probably say the majority of people are pretty cool about independence. And it's not like the whole movement, but unfortunately it's the part of the movement that seems to be fighting amongst themselves, are the ones with the loudest voices that live in little echo chambers on social media, that think that it's their voice is the most important one. A bit of nepotism there, thinking, well, if you don't sort of like see it my way, then, you know, you don't belong here. We don't know who you are and stuff like that, you know. We lost Lisa. Oh, let's bring her back. Here she is. So yeah, it's a bit frustrating as a whole, but I don't know. Dave, what do you think about the infighting within independence?
Oh, I think it's a lot of nonsense, really. The indie movement, and when I say the indie movement, I'm talking about the wider indie movement here. We need to get away from this party politics mentality that we've got into, where it's my way or the highway kind of thing. We really need to break away from that, and because it is really damaging the cause. I think personally, I think it's really damaging the cause.
Yeah, totally. It's something. I feel that less people want to get involved with the movement if there is this infighting sort of thing going on. As a whole, it gives the wrong impression. And the marches as well. The marches I really enjoy. I love hanging out with everybody that I meet there and everything. But there's kind of a lack of energy in some of the marches. I think that the best march that I've been on since probably 2019 was the Believe in Scotland march in Edinburgh, the first one that they did with Yes for EU, the team there. I was stewarding for that, but it was a beautiful sunshiny day. You were there, Dave, I believe. And were you there, Kieran, for that one?
I don't
It was
think so.
the first Believe in Scotland march. The energy was unbelievable. It was like stepping back into 2014 and the last big march of 2019. It was unbelievable, and that's what the independence movement is to me. A whole bunch of people that come from the backgrounds of ALAPA, SNP, ISP were there, Salvo, Liberation Scot. Everybody was there, and it was focused on one thing only: let's make as much noise as possible for independence. And it was really, really important, you know. But we still are let down in the bigger picture and the national cause as a whole with regards to the movement not coming together. And there's no reason other than people feeling a bit disappointed about the SNP perhaps not pushing forward, but they are gradualists. They are not pushing hard enough, but they need to change. I think and 2026 might be one of the last opportunities that we have to put something out there that's more positive about it all. Kieran, how do you feel about, I mean, politically, you and I are in the same boat. We both believe the same things, right? But how do you feel about using 2026 as a plebiscite? The SNP call it a de facto, but the actual proper term is a plebiscite, which is basically a vote used to bring on constitutional change. Do you think that we should potentially try and encourage people to vote for the SNP and maybe a second party as a plebiscite?
I completely agree with that. I feel like the way to do a plebiscite election would be to say a vote for any independence party, not just the SNP, because it is time that we do, I suppose, officially recognise that we aren't the only independence party. There are several. There's been several for about a few years now. So there's no point in denying they don't exist, because they definitely do. But we should be working with every party possible to get votes and to get people out in elections to vote, because really a vote in this 2026 election is the most important one. It's more important than any Westminster one you'll ever get.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. I'm going to quickly look into the chat because I've not actually said hello to anybody across in the side chat just now. I saw Barry there. He's been very good in promoting all the stuff that we do. Thank you, Barry, for that. There's Ken, there's Zen. I'm going to come back to your question, Harold the Younger, in a wee second there, and address about the infighting as well. There was also Phil said, who would want us divided? I don't think the infighting's accidental. I agree with you there. Who else did I miss? There was other people. Martin's there as well. Davy Keane, thank you for all coming in. Listen, if you are not able to actually chat in the side chat, you have to subscribe to the channel and wait 5 minutes. So click the subscribe button and do that. I'm going to play a song in a minute, but I just want to quickly address one little thing about, where was it? It was this, why does the SNP ignore the work of Salvo? I don't know. I think it's good work. I think that the whole international part of it all is a very positive thing. I put my own philosophy forward for this. Who said that there? Blah, blah, blah. Can't remember. My whole philosophy for independence is there's 3 pillars. Okay, there's a competent political pillar that's governing well to show that we can do the right things within our own sphere of influence. A very strong international element, going out there, taking our story to the world and trying to fight for our rights, whether it be in the EU, whether it be in the UN, whether it be through diplomatic means. And then there's us, the grassroots people. Okay, if you have all 3 of these aligned, we become an unstoppable force, because the political people can't live or survive without the grassroots. Okay, independence won't come without international recognition. Okay, and the international recognition will look to the political sphere to say, are you backing up these people that are doing this stuff with the UN? And then the people at the UN need us as well as the grassroots. And if we're squabbling amongst ourselves and the international community looks and goes, they can't even come together for one cause, it's not going to work very well. You know, it really isn't. I'm going to play a wee song. This is basically a song aimed at the people that do the infighting within our movement, and you can listen to it and see what you think.
The same, the banner is clear, the future that's ours, but it's fractured with fear. Petty games and pride, tearing apart the dream of a nation, the hope in our hearts. Get over yourselves, you're dragging us down, squalling like children while the world spins around. The light of our freedom is fading away. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Teams and tribes, it's a desperate show. The fire's still burning, but it flickers too slow. While Westminster grins, holding the chains, we bicker and barter, and nothing remains. Get over yourselves, you're dragging us down, squalling like children while the world spins around. The light of our freedom is fading away. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. The cause is too great, the time's slipping fast. We're stuck in the present, but the future's our past. If we don't unite, this chance will be gone. A fractured movement can never be strong. Get over yourselves, you're dragging us down, squabbling like children while the world spins around. The light of our freedom is fading away. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Years from now, when the dust has all cleared and independence finally appears, you'll look back in shame at the time that we lost. The price of your pride wasn't worth the cost. Get over yourselves, it's time to unite. The dream's within reach if we stand up and fight. Get over yourselves, no more delay. Together we rise or together we stay. Get over yourselves, get over yourselves. You're dragging us down, squalling like children while the world spins around. The light of our freedom is fading away. Get over yourselves, stop standing in the way. Get over yourselves.
I like that song very, very much. It's good fun. Listen, some good conversations going on in the side chat there just now. Harold, I think that this part of the SNP, the leadership maybe, are not more shovey positive. Let's get going with the independence stuff as much. They need to be. I'm a member of the SNP. I'm a member of Salvo, Liberation Scot. I'm a member of ALAPA as well. I've joined them all. Okay, I've joined them all because I think that I want to support everyone for this because of what Artie Scott Indy said there as well. Scotland is, as Alex Salmon said, internationalist and civic nationalist. There needs to be the message that needs to get out and get across is talking about the national movement as a whole. And that's where those three pillars come in. That's just a philosophy. It's not a direction. It's just how I feel, political, international and grassroots. If all of those three things are aligned and going they don't need to be going at the same pace, but at least be going in the same direction, okay, because they'll catch up with each other, we would end up with a better way of doing things. Dave, are you there, Dave?
I'm here.
Good. I'm going to bring you up just now. How do you feel about, you've heard me talk about the three pillars. How do you feel about an international movement within those pillars at all? How do you feel about the message that Liberation Scot is putting out as a whole?
Well, I actually signed up to it right from the start when that all started in, I think it was 2022. So I'm fully behind it.
That's good. That's very good indeed. What about yourself, Kieran? How do you? What have you? Did you sign up to them?
To Liberation.Scot?
Yeah.
I did that. I think it was around the same time as
That's
when
probably
I
I
joined.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was you who brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us did at the same time.
Yeah. the message is great. I think that using our history as a whole, and taking and asking the question, is Scotland a country or not, and taking that forward and deciding whether we're in a union of equals and putting the union on the spot for it all is one thing. It's just one of those things that that will probably, I don't know how quickly that will work, because the UN is a massive body, and our Lewis knows probably a little bit more about how the UN operates. You have sent me stuff about the UN. Don't act surprised when we're talking about it, because I'm bringing you up next just to briefly say why things might take a little bit longer at the UN than we would want them to, mate, okay? Go for it.
Yeah. So, well, to be fair, things take on average around 20 years to pass through the UN. So it could be 3 months, it could go from to 20 years. It just depends on how much importance the UN places on it. Now, on my own opinion, I'd like it to be high importance, but I think it'll be probably a little bit lower in the UN scale, because we've got a lot of international things to worry about, like world peace and other such things.
Stuff like Palestine as well.
Yeah.
It'd be good if they were talking about it in the coffee rooms and getting the word out and using that. What was it? An NGO or something? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, a non-governmental organisation.
Yeah, I think that, and it's quite a good one as well. I can't remember what it's called, but they seem to be all right with stuff. They seem to be doing the right thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing when you've got organisations like Liberation Scotland that wholeheartedly believe in our freedom, our liberation from the Union, doing this. I couldn't see, without me mocking the party that I vote for with my first vote, okay, without me doing that, I couldn't see the SNP doing what they're doing. And because it's a non-political thing, it's pretty good. Lisa, do you know anything about Liberation Scotland, Salvo? Have you ever read any of their stuff or anything at all?
I've seen a few of their things and that, and I just think, obviously, just anything they have that progresses, and like what they're doing right now with the UN is just amazing. The way they're just pushing things forward. That's what we need. We need a big, powerful voice that's going to push things, progress forward, and that's just an advantage to Scotland and its independence.
Yeah, it's just part of the process, and it's like, no matter what happens, we're going to need international recognition from it all, which is important. Okay, I just want to go back to where we started tonight, which was the stuff that I've been talking about this week, which was a bit of how I feel strongly why people are turning round and suggesting that the SNP 1 and 2 vote is the right way forward. Now, there's been somebody's been using one of the SNP's old videos, which was the one from 2021, that's saying if we go back to 2016, this is what the video is about, but it was broadcast in 2021. If we go back to 2016, and if everybody who voted for SNP 1 also voted for SNP 2, we would have had a majority. Now, I don't like things like that without going and checking them. That's just my pragmatist brain doing stuff. So on the Electoral Commission's website, there is the ability to go and download all of the results for various different elections, and 2016 Scotland's one's there, and it's as a spreadsheet. It's an XLS file, so you can download it and you can stick it in your Excel itself, and you can play with it. And I took the data and put it into my own spreadsheets, which calculates the D'Hondt system, the D'Hondt calculation across every region and constituency. And they got one more seat by doing that. One more seat, the SNP, by doing that. And I mean, I sat there this afternoon and did it. I'm going to make a video next week about it. I'm going to make a couple of short videos as well, just to put out, just to say, listen, please, is it about political hegemony or is it about the national cause? Because we've got people like Kieran, we've got people like Lewis and people like Lisa okay, and Dave as well, because he's a young man too, all right, all looking for the future of a free Scotland. And if we're going to get bogged down with just, I'm going to vote for you and that's it, and I'm not going to vote for anybody else, I'm not going to even consider other people being represented in the independence movement by other political entities, then we're surefire going to lose every single time. What do you think about that, Dave?
Yep, I think you're right, Mo, because there's been a couple of times in my constituency where I live where people have actually done stuff like that, voted SNP 1 and 2, and it simply doesn't work.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work at all. So I've always voted SNP 1, Greens 2, but I got a bit frustrated when I found that video of what's her name saying that independence wasn't a red line, and that upset me because I've always voted SNP 1 and Green 2 since the conception of Holyrood, you know, and understanding how the two vote system works from day one. So this time, I said this week in a video that this time I'm going to vote for Alapa. And I've had a couple of messages from friends of mine saying, why are you going to vote for Alapa? I says, why not? They're a political party. But do you believe in their policies? I says, I don't really know all their policies, to be perfectly honest. I says, I'm voting for them because I want a pro-Scottish majority in Holyrood. Do any of you guys know what happens when we hit a 2/3 majority under the Scotland Act? What happens? What we can do?
Supermajority pass any law that the Scottish Parliament's allowed to pass.
That's your single majority. But if we have a 2/3 majority, do you know what else we can do, Lewis? Does anybody know? Right. So this is the interesting thing, right? So let's say we get a 2/3 majority, 86 MSPs, pro-Scottish MSPs in Holyrood, right? We can then decide and vote amongst ourselves to dissolve Holyrood, not dissolve it permanently, but close Parliament for that session and conduct what's called an extraordinary election. Now, this is in the Scotland Act, and it clearly states, I think it's section 3, all right, where basically we can then, I wouldn't do it straight away. I would maybe wait a couple of years and start talking about it, build momentum up for it all and everything, and then say, look, the Independence Party is going to fight on one subject alone. A vote for us is a vote for independence. Okay, we just have to campaign right and choose the correct moment to do this over that 5-year period and then go for it. Okay, so we've had one election, 2026, that says, hey, this is a massive majority here. Scotland wants independence because they voted for a huge majority of Scottish MSPs in both the list and in the constituency. We're now having a confirmation election. This doesn't mean that you're going to say grant us our freedom, but this is a confirmation election to say, look, we've done this twice. That's one of the things the international community looks for. 2 consecutive elections that say we've done this. Now, we've had mandates for this before, but it's never been used appropriately. And this is the sort of thing, if we've got 2/3 of a majority, we can push that forward. At the same time, Salvo's doing their job within Scotland, educating people about Liberation Scotland. They're doing that grassroots bit for LibScot. We can back up LibScot as well. We can back up Holyrood, and we then all work as one to deliver that particular outcome on the second election. What happens after then? We go to Westminster and say we want to start negotiating for our liberty. They're going to say no. So then we actually have to do an action with the international community. And dare I say it, from there, because we've done our 2 things, maybe we should just declare our independence. Lisa, how do you feel about declaring your independence after something like that?
How exciting does that sound, though, doesn't it? Like, obviously, we've been waiting a long time for this sort of thing to happen, more than others, you know, and I just think, like, the Scottish people deserve that, you know. Like, obviously, in 2024, Labour got voted in Westminster, and all we're seeing is just cuts. It's making our country poorer and poorer. There's just, it just doesn't feel like we're progressing. I mean, in 2014, they said we're better together. I'm just not seeing how we're better together in 2025. So,
Totally agree.
yeah, just declaring independence like that, I think it'll just be a breath of fresh air, in my honest opinion, just moving forward. And it's so positive, though, isn't it? It's just exciting. It's a change, a big change will happen, and it'll be good.
So many people have sort of like been afraid of a unilateral, it's called a unilateral declaration of independence. We couldn't do one tomorrow. It wouldn't work tomorrow. We have to give the international community and Scotland herself the opportunity to decide to do that. So with a 2/3 majority in 2026 and then a confirmation election a couple of years later, that's a sort of sensible way of going about it, and then saying, look, we have shown you that we want our independence and you're still saying no. This is supposed to be a voluntary union, so we're just going to say, listen, we're independent. You might not like it, but the international community, all we need is a couple of big countries to recognise it, and then there's no going back. And it helps Liberation Scotland as well to do their job too. That's the pillars working together as a whole. There we have it. Right, so you lovely people, I'm going to stop this a wee bit early because I do want to go into Discord and hang out with people for about 10 minutes before I have to go to bed. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, which is no good. So you lovely people, is anybody out of you four got anything else you want to say just now? Just tell me. Does anybody want to go for it? Kieran, have you got anything you want to finish up with tonight?
I would probably finish up by just saying it was 2021. We got the SNP got 1 million votes on the list, and that resulted in just 2 seats. And I actually went and looked, and those 2 seats were the last available list seats in both regions because of how well they did in constituency. And I feel like the only real way to do a plebiscite election would be to remove the SNP from the list, which I can't see happening, but it would be the right thing to do. Maybe not 2026, but maybe if there is a 2/3 majority and we're able to dissolve Parliament, the SNP should back away from the list, because there's no point in denying that people won't not vote SNP, both votes SNP. And I think it was Kenny McCaskill said the Alba conference, if it was 100,000 SNP votes went to Alapa, there would have been there'd be 70 odd independent MSPs.
Of course.
And they're really, it's just needless infighting between all parties, because you've got the SNP who have been ignoring. There was a person earlier who was saying that we were ignoring the works of Salvo. We have been ignoring the works of Salvo, but there is definitely people in every single branch who will speak about Salvo. It was my area's area had Sarah Sawyers over, I think it was last month, to speak about what Salvo was doing in Liberation Scotland. And people, I wasn't there at the time, I was away, I couldn't make it, but there was people there who had been, I think, there were a lot of people who were there, and people were listening, and she was making points about the decolonisation with the UN, and there's the ICCPR, which Leah Gunn Barrett is also pushing out, which I saw a mention of here as well by, I think it was Artie Scott Indy had mentioned that earlier as well. That is another good thing to introduce. It would be good to introduce before 2026. I don't think it will happen because of the little amount of time that there is, but it is definitely something that the party should definitely focus on getting, and this might be one of the first things a pro-independent parliament does in 2026 if people get their head in the sand and realise there is a way to get rid of your Anna Sarwars, your Russell Finleys, your Murdo Frasers of the Parliament, and that's to either vote for Alapa on your list vote or Green. It really just depends on your region. Like if you live in Glasgow, people aren't really going to vote Alapa there. They would probably vote more Green.
Yeah.
So it is tactical voting, and there should definitely be an independent tactical voting system where it would be if it's a really good SNP area, you give them your constituency vote, and then if it's a more greener area, you give the Greens your other vote, and if it's more of an Alapa bit, I would say a bit like North East Scotland, where Alex Salmond has had his seats previously, I think several times. That would be more of an Alapa area. The south of Scotland would also be more of an Alapa area. So it really is just knowing your region, knowing what you want, because it's the SNP. It is a tent party, but so is Alapa, and the Greens are. I wouldn't say a tent party, but they are a sort of tent party. You've got different views in that party. I don't think they have a whip, so you can vote however, but you really just need to vote what's better for Scotland. And if that's both votes SNP, you're going to bring in Anna Sauer on the list. And no one wants to be sitting in their home after 2026 thinking, I brought Anna Sauer back into Hollywood with my list vote. Because there was a person on Facebook who was saying that the additional member system is proportional representation. It's not proportional representation.
It's not pure proportional at all, is it?
Yeah, it's the D'Hondt method, which divides the number of seats 1 plus 1. So if you're winning 9 seats in Glasgow, 9 out of 9, you're, what was it, 2021, your 134,000 votes is just going to become 13,000 votes, and that won't get you a list seat at all.
Yeah.
But let's say half of that, let's say it got split in half went to Alapa, half went to Greens, you'd have probably one or two of each. And it's when you look back on it, you really think, why didn't we do that? And that's what I really believe that's what Alex Salmond tried to say or tried to prove, which he sadly wasn't able to in 2021 and sadly won't be able to do in 2026. But I think Kenny McCaskill will continue the torch of Independence Party 1, another Independence Party 2, which in his case I would assume he would be doing SNP 1 and Alpha 2.
Alex Salmond, did he not vote SNP in the general election last year? Did he not admit that he said that he'd voted? I'm sure I read somewhere like that. I could be wrong.
He voted SNP in his constituency?
In 2024, yeah. Was there not an Alapa? I don't think there was an Alapa run in his constituency, was there?
Well, I suppose if
I could be wrong.
They would probably vote SNP because they do want the same thing, and they would be doing the same thing in Westminster. And I feel like we shouldn't get too caught up fighting over Westminster seats.
Yeah.
Because it's just a place of bullying where no matter what party you're elected in, if you come from a Scottish seat, you're instantly less than the rest.
This is true.
You really have to think, do you really want to live in a union where the people you vote for, right, even if they're...
Oh, where's he gone? That wasn't me, by the way. I did not switch him off. Hold on a second.
Oh, there he is. He's back again.
Hold on, let me bring him. Where did you go? That wasn't me. I promise you, it wasn't me. I wasn't trying to jump in on your filibustering long soliloquy that was going on there.
My screen just went grey there. I had no idea what it was, but where was
It's those unionists trying to hack us again because you're speaking so much sense, mate. It's happened before. Let me quickly let some other people just quickly jump in to see anything that they want to finish up with tonight. Because I do, like I say, I do want to jump onto Discord to say hi to people, and then I need to go to my beddy buys. Okay, Dave, have you got anything you want to wrap up with tonight?
Just the fact that I agree with everything Kieran said about this whole SMP 1 and 2 thing. It really doesn't work. And I think it really depends on where you are in Scotland as well. That's a factor. Like along the borders, they may not have a choice.
Yeah.
But certainly in Central Belt, SMP 1 and 2, no, that's a no.
No, it has SMP 1, any other Indie 2. Where it may work best, as you're saying, might be in the south of Scotland. I think, Lewis, you're in the south of Scotland, aren't you? Your constituency. I would probably. I've been looking at sort of like the past sort of elections and where it might be better to do this, and I'm definitely going to say SNP 1 and 2 for the south of Scotland, without a doubt, because it's the big region. SNP 1. We want to do it. There was one instance in a model that I ran, looking at like if SNP got 45% of the list vote in the south of Scotland, they would have got 2, if not 3, list seats in 2016 and 2021 if the SNP got 45% of the vote, which is kind of mental. Anything you want to finish up with tonight, Lewis?
Quickly 2 points. So, especially going back to the Universal Declaration of Independence, it's very difficult, especially when you've seen what happened in Catalonia. They had a referendum. They tried to declare independence, and the Spanish authorities never let them. So, unfortunately, we're kind of binded in the way we have to do it. It all has to be recognised first by the UK government, and that's their only problem.
That sucks.
But and the second point is probably, I think right now, if England keeps on doing what England does, we will end up in a Yugoslavia situation. So the Yugoslavia couldn't survive the biggest component of Yugoslavia, which was Kosovo. So I think we're in a similar position. I think if we continue to let England do what England does and try and rule with an iron fist, it will come down eventually. It's the same with any iron fist regime. Soviet Union, they went down quite quickly.
All empires fall.
Yeah.
All empires fall. Oh, we've lost Dave. Where's Dave? There he is.
I'm back, but for some reason it keeps cutting me out. I keep losing.
It's not my settings, Barry. I promise you. Okay, it's not my settings. No, I think you're right. I'm too impatient. I'm all for let's get a majority, an 86 seat minimum majority. Let's tell them do a couple of years of governing and building up to saying we're going to have a confirmation of this, and then tell Westminster, say, look, this is us confirming that we want to be independent, write to all the countries of the world, well, this is what we're wanting to do, and do it right to the United Nations, right to the EU, saying we have done it once, we're now doing a confirmation one, and this is something that's internationally recognised as well as a method of like massive constitutional change. But a UDI right now, not a chance. We wouldn't be recognised. But if we had a mass majority, and then there's a possibility, but we just have to write, we just have to send the letters. Listen, if we've done this, we're a massive majority. The polls all say that we're wanting to be independent, but we're not allegedly allowed, but we'll wait and see what happens, we'll wait and see what happens. Just so you know, Lisa might like this, I have a bunch of pitchforks and torches in my garden shed that we can go and invade England with, alright? Have you got anything you want to finish up with for tonight, pal?
I just want to leave a positive note. Just say, please don't get bogged down. Obviously, the more that Westminster drags Scotland down, I feel like the more people are going to be like, oh, do you know what? Independence doesn't actually look like a bad thing now. You know, we had 14 years of Tory austerity. Now we're getting Labour austerity. It's no use for our country at all. So I feel like as well, the more I talk to people and they're like, do you know what? I would vote independence now. You know, now that I know what's happened and stuff, when in the EU as well, in 2016 we got dragged out of the EU, and it's just not benefited our country at all. So the more that Westminster drags our country down, the more people are going to be like, you know, independence.
Totally agree. Could not agree more. Listen, I want to take the time to thank all 4 of you guys for joining us tonight. This was an experiment in a panel show. More to come in the future. Thank you, Lisa, Lewis, Kieran and Dave very much. I am now going to put my camera on and bore everybody for the last 2 minutes. But if you want to jump across into Discord, okay, give everybody a wave before you go though, please. Because all 4 of you are on the screen right now. Yay! Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. That's magic. I'll see you guys in Discord. Thank you very much for hanging out on this tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll see you there. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed doing that with these guys. They can do a lot more talking than me, it seems, you know. We were all a wee bit sort of nervous about doing this at the start, but not anymore. Good bunch of people, know what they're talking about. You cut them and they bleed salt tires, and I'm proud to be an activist shoulder to shoulder with them. So I'm going to finish up there. I want to thank everybody that has enjoyed the conversation in the side chat. It seems to be quite feisty. And do you know what? We'll be back next week as well. I'm going to be talking about more sort of there was an article in the National about voting for Alapa as a revolutionary move, and it kind of inspired me to go and do a little bit more thinking about that. So that's what next week's going to be about, the content that I'll put out. Amongst other things as well, we'll look at what the previous votes would have looked like. It's a bit dull looking at statistics and things, but you know what? I'll do my best to make it look okay. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and if you're going into Discord, I'll see you in Discord. I'll speak to you soon.
We walk through the echoes of battles long past.
I think so.
Footsteps still ringing. The die
I wonder what's happening in the
has
side
been
chat.
cast.
Yeah, I've
The
just had a look at the
voices
side
of
chat.
giants still call out our name. Their words in the silence still whisper the same. Oh, we carry the flame. We carry it high. A light in the dark, a hope in the sky. Not one hand alone, not one heart apart. If we stand together, we make a new start. The road isn't easy, the weight isn't small.